Hi, my name is Nathan Adams, and this is a Blender tutorial from Shamble Studio. Today's lesson is going to be talking about a few things to know about the game engine. When you're starting it up, a couple of things to know that are useful. So first of all, let's get started in our default scene, and we have our cube. And let's just use this cube to make a room, real quick and easy. Let's scale it up, tab into our edit mode, of course. Tab, scale up. Okay, there we go. Doesn't matter how big it is, just scale up. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of a couple faces that we're not going to be seeing with the camera. So if we do Control Tab, Faces, get our faces, delete, faces. Okay, and there we go. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to add an empty for this camera to look at. So, there we go. Control T. Oops. Need to get my order of operations right here. Select the camera first, then the empty. Control T, track to constraint. There we go. Now, we'll be able to do that. Okay. Now let's go into our camera mode. Get numpad 0. Okay. And then let's press the P key to start the game. Well, take a look at that. Everything disappeared. Why do you ask? Did everything disappear? We clearly have a cube scene here. The reason why it disappeared was because of the direction of the normals. I'm going to explain how this works. So let's tab back into our edit mode. Hit A to select all of them. And then just to start out, we're going to draw the normals. You can't really see them because the end size is the normal size, or the size that the indications are showing up as. Let's increase that some. Now you're starting to see them better. And you'll notice that they're facing outward. When you look at all the sides. And what happens is that when your normals are not facing the camera, they have a tendency to disappear, just like we just saw in our last example. So to correct that, what we do is we get Control F, flip normals, and now they're all facing the camera. So that we get out of edit mode and we go into our game engine. Now we can see them, at least the ones facing the camera. So we go back into our camera mode and we hit P for play. All the walls that we did not delete are showing up as we want them to. So that's the first tip. Now the next tip that I'm going to show you is just how to do a simple interaction between a sphere and a box, or a cube. And so let's add a cube, and of course I need to turn on my snap. Okay, add a cube, and I'm going to do Control so that I snap to the closest vertices, wherever they may be. Okay, and then I'm going to add another couple of objects. So we get our space bar, add plane. Let's scale it up. Alright, and if we rotate this about the y-axis, there we go. And let's just get it down a little bit. Alright. Alright, there we go. And then we're going to add a sphere. Let's add a UV sphere. Just say OK with that. Alright. Actually, I'm going to rotate that a little bit more along the y-axis. Okay. And I'll just move that over a little bit. Okay. There we go. Enough said. Let's play it. Okay, well, you can see that there's nothing moving. And the reason why nothing is moving is because we have not set these objects up as actors. These are the ones that we want the interaction to happen with. These two we can just leave alone because they'll just act as physical barriers for these two to interact with. So let's set this one by going to our game logic. Right now it says static and actor is not turned on. Let's change that to dynamic, and that automatically turns on actor. Don't know why those things disappear on me. Okay, and now we play it with that, just with that. Okay, well, there we go. Now we get the ball actually rolling. Isn't that nice to just get the ball rolling? Anyway, so we escape out of that. You'll notice this is still an obstacle. Yes, we do want it to move. So let's set that. I'm going to set it to a rigid body. Now let's play it. You'll get the interaction. But that's not quite what we want. You notice how that box rolls when this hits into it? Well, to prevent that from happening, turn on our bounds, turn on box. Now I press play again. Now it acts like a box. Much better. Alright, so that's another common thing just to introduce you to a new concept. Now, let's say we have another object that's going to sit right next to it. Let's add another box. Okay. Alright, there we go. And let's say we want them really close together. And just being who I am, I've been an architectural drafter by trade, so I like to have things nice and tight next to each other. Okay, well, we're going to have both of these as dynamic objects, or rather, they're going to be actors, so I'm going to make this a rigid body as well. And then, why don't I just move those boxes just to get it so that the ball hits both of them. Alright? Okay, oh yes, and before we do anything, we have to remember the bounds need to be turned to box. Alright, now if we press play, alright, there we have some movement, but you may have noticed when this was starting out, when the actual scene was starting out, that there was a tiny bit of movement. I'm actually going to move this over a little bit so that it'll hit both of the boxes. Alright, try that again. Okay, just a little bit more movement again. Alright, there we go. Now it's much better. But you may have also noticed that there was a bit of movement. And so that's been a little problem that I've found. So let's say if I just move that over a little bit. Okay. Play that. Still a little bit of movement. These two just don't seem to like each other, do they? Okay. So we move it just a little bit more. Still movement. But let's say if we just move this up from the floor a tiny bit. Okay. Now they stay still. So one of the reasons why maybe there's some movement on some of your scenes, you know, things start to float away, is perhaps because there's intersecting geometry, or there is geometry that matches exactly to it. And so there's a little bit of correction that needs to be done. And so that's just an example of some of that geometry just floating away. So if you just move them away from each other, then it's not such a problem. Let's try that again. Yeah, that time I'm not really seeing any movement. So it's a lot better. You'll clean up your scene a lot better so that you won't see any unwanted movement as you're going into your scene and setting up your props. So that is today's tutorial. My name is Nathan Adams, and thank you for watching.